And namaste, everyone. Wishing everybody a wonderful 2025. May all of you have health and wealth and peace of mind and happiness overall in this new year. My name is Vai Haridas, and on behalf of Arva Yoga and Kriya Yoga, I would love to welcome all of you to this another monthly profound series. And a big thank you to Swamiji for offering this particular topic. Everybody is super excited, and moving forward, what we'll do is we'll keep our announcements at the end of the session and also maybe use the chat for making announcements so that we can get the most of Swamiji's time each month moving forward. So once again, Swamiji, a big thank you on behalf of Arva Yoga. It's a small organization that offers free yoga to the community, and this series means a lot. So thank you once again. And with that, over to you.
Thank you, Ma. Let us close the eyes for a moment, remembering Almighty, Supreme Reality, all-pervading Divinity, and all the Masters. Will begin with a Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Shanti. May the Divine protect us all. May the Divine nourish us with wisdom and knowledge. May we meditate and pray together. May we grow together. May there be no conflict among us. May there be more love, peace, and harmony among all of us and in this entire creation. Om. Amen. I humbly bow to God, who is omnipresent, present in every breath. I bow to all the saints and sages for all the wisdom we have received from them. I bow to lineage of Kriya Yoga masters. Feeling presence of divine, I bow to each one of you. Good afternoon and good evening. Welcome to this new year 2025 with new resolution to be a better person and practice our yoga sincerely. Today, we'll discuss on the topic philosophy of yoga, although this was the series last year, and we'll begin with this. In our last or before last month, we discussed about the evolution of 6 philosophies that in order to experience the ultimate truth of life, how human beings contemplated, discussed, debated, and came up with development of different philosophical thoughts or schools over the period of time. And we discussed that there are 6 philosophies. We discussed that there are 6 schools of philosophies which are known as Shad Darshana in our previous class. Nyaya, which was the first one, Vaisheshika, Sankhya philosophy, then Purva Mimamsa, then Yoga philosophy, and the last philosophy is the Vedanta. We will keep our focus on yoga philosophy because we practice yoga, we teach yoga. And what is yoga? So we will continue this in this topic today, the philosophy of yoga. What is the meaning of word yoga? Very often people think that yoga means some physical exercises. Yoga means to concentrate. But what exactly yoga means? There are 33 meanings of this word yoga in Sanskrit language. So most of them I'll mention here just for your knowledge. Yoga is derived from the root verb in Sanskrit yuj. Yuj means to unite, to join. So first meaning of yoga is joining or uniting. Second is union or junction. Third is contact, communication. Fourth meaning a point of view, an argument. Fifth is mode, manner, course or means. Sixth is consequence, an endeavor, zeal, diligence. Eighth meaning of yoga is in astrology, especially in Vedic astrology, there are different planets. So when they are in conjunction, when they are combined, so that is also called yoga. For example, the moon and Jupiter together in the center of the house, it is called Gaja Kesari Yoga. The Sun and Mercury together, Buddha Aditya Yoga. So yoga also, it is the conjunction of stars in Vedic astrology. Ninth meaning of yoga is fitness, propriety, or suitability. The next meaning is an occupation, work, or business. Then in Ayurveda, also we use this word yoga. When we have a special combination of different ingredients in Ayurveda, so that is also known as yoga. Then yoga means carriage, a spy, a secret agent. Yoga means yoke. Yoga means also a possibility or occurrence, gaining, acquainting, acquiring. 16th meaning is the equipment of army, fixing or putting in practice, or self-control is also yoga. Then deep and abstract meditation, concentration of mind. Then samadhi is also known as yoga. An occasion, an opportunity is yoga. We call it that when there is a yoga, then we will do this work. Another meaning of yoga is remedy or cure. Then wealth and substance. Yoga means also etymology, derivation of words meaning, employment, application. It also means dependence and relation. The system of philosophy by sage Patanjali is known as yoga. We call it yoga philosophy. And in arithmetic, yoga means addition, plus. Yoga means also an armor, devotion. And surprisingly, there is a negative meaning of yoga also, which is to trick, to fraud, or to deceive someone. Then 30th meaning is an expedition or plan, a rule or precept. Yoga means also a conveyance or vehicle. And then last 33rd meaning of yoga is a charm or magic. So yoga has so many different meanings, 33 meanings in Sanskrit language. Most commonly, we use this word yoga as a philosophy, also as the union of body and mind, union of soul and body, union of microcosm with macrocosm, or union of our individual consciousness with cosmic consciousness. However, in Yoga Sutra Patanjali, this word yoga does not mean only union, but it means samadhi, which is the goal of life. However, there are so many different types of yoga, but I'll give some definitions of this word yoga from various scriptures. The most authentic and classical text on yoga is Yoga Sutra Patanjali, the aphorism written or compiled by sage Patanjali almost 5,000 years ago. So in that first chapter, first book, there are two definitions of yoga. Atha yoga anushasanam. Yoga is the discipline. The second sutra in the first book says yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is the elimination, annihilation, and suppression of the modifications of mind or thought patterns. We'll go through elaborately when in the next class we'll start the complete Yoga Sutra, important verses with more description. So these two definitions are from Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Then few more definitions. What is yoga? Drashta anushravik vishaya yoga viyoga. Separation or rejection or negation of association with what you see or listen is yoga. So whatever we see, whatever we listen to, when we are separated or when we reject, both are known as yoga, yoga and viyoga. So when we are separated from any object of our senses, it is also known as yoga. Then yoga milanam sa chavakshmanaha drashtu drashyayo ekatva rupam. This yoga is union between the seer and seen, one who is observing and the thing which is being observed. When both are united with a process, this is also known as yoga. Another definition says apraptasya prapti yoga. Yoga is to achieve what is not attained. Suppose in our life, we have desire to have a house. We don't have house. So we put our best efforts, and when we get a house, so we are united with house. Now house is with us. So then it is known as yoga. We are united. So anything we achieve in life which is not attained before is yoga. Apraptasya prapti yoga. Some other definitions from Bhagavad Gita. There are three I would refer to. In the second chapter, verse number 48, Siddha Siddhyo Samo Bhutva Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. Abandoning attachment to success and failure means remaining in a state of equanimity. This is also known as yoga. Siddhi and asiddhi, success and failure. So it includes both the pairs of opposites. So when a person remains balanced in any pair of opposites, then he is in the state of yoga. Then second chapter, 50th verse in Bhagavad Gita, Yoga Karmasu Kaushalam. Yoga is the art of working skillfully. That means if I'm doing with God consciousness, then it is also Karmasu Kaushalam Yoga, Kushala Karma. In Bhagavad Gita, sixth chapter, 23rd verse also says, Dukkha Sanyoga Viyogam Yoga Sangitam. That state of separation from union with misery is known as yoga. So state of separation from union. Suppose you are united with God or you are united with your beloved. And when you feel separation, so that is also with misery when you feel separation, then it is also known as yoga. If you read the Jnana Sankalini Tantra, verse number 61, it says, Sarva Chinta Parityagaha Nischintaha Yoga Uchyate. Yoga is the state where giving up all thoughts, one is established in a thoughtless state. Means when we become completely free from all the thought patterns and we are established in a state which is completely beyond thoughts, that is known as yoga. Few more definitions like in Sankhya Darshana you can find पुरुषः प्रकृत्योः वियोगेऽपि योग इति अभिधीयते. Understanding separation of Purusha and Prakriti and establishing Purusha in his own form is yoga. In Sankhya philosophy, we discussed before in our previous classes, there are two, Purusha and Prakriti, God and God's power, creative power. So, when we understand the separation of these two and establishing Purusha in its own form, means when we go beyond the play of Prakriti or three gunas or qualities and establish ourselves in our real form, that is known as yoga. Then in Vishnu Purana it says, Yoga Sanyoga iti uktaha Jivatma Paramatmane. Complete union of individual soul with supreme soul, like Atma and Paramatma, and they are united, that is known as yoga. In Charaka Samhita, which is the scripture on Ayurveda, medical science, Yogo Moksha Pravartakaha. Yoga is the path to liberation. Then there's another scripture, Yoga Bija. It says yoga is said to be the unification of the wave of dualities, Dvanda Jala. So all this duality like night and day, pleasure and pain. So when they are united together, that is also known as yoga. And Brahmanda Puran tells yoga is said to be control over the mind, control over the senses. Raja Martanda is another beautiful scripture which says yoga is the separation, viyoga, of self from world ground, means prakriti. So when the self, the soul, is separated from prakriti and remain in its own form, that is also yoga. There is an Upanishad, Yoga Shikha Upanishad. It says yoga is said to be the unity of exhalation and inhalation and of blood and semen. Unity of inhalation and exhalation, that is yoga. As well as the union of sun and moon and of the individual psyche with transcendental self. So here sun and moon, they don't take it literally as sun and moon. Sun and moon means the right nostril, left nostril, the solar and lunar channel. So again, it is related to inhalation and exhalation, outgoing and incoming breath. When they are united in samatva, balanced in the navel center, that is yoga. So how many definitions from different scriptures we have seen? Now the question comes that how many types of yoga are there? In the modern time, we listen about the different types of yoga, and one day I was just searching and making a list. I found there are over 320 types of yoga available in the modern time. And it makes people very much confused sometimes that what type of yoga one should practice. However, most of the yoga techniques or the names are given in modern, very recent modern time, and most of them are started by a particular individual person, and with their own name they started a kind of yoga. But traditionally, the yoga, there are only few types of yoga mentioned in our scriptures, and I'll give you a brief account of those and why those few only are mentioned, because it depends on the level of student. So I'll give you some more detail about it. In the scripture, mm, Goraksha Samhita and also Yoga Shikha Upanishad, it tells about four types of yoga. So traditionally, there are four types of yoga mentioned in most of the ancient scriptures, including Goraksha Samhita or Yoga Shikha Upanishad. It says mantro, layo, hatho, राजयोग अंतर्भूमिका क्रमात् एक एव चतुर्धा अयम महायोगः अभिधीयते. So Mahayoga, they say that there are 4 types of yoga. They are known as Mahayoga, great yoga. What are these 4? They are known as Mantra Yoga, Laya Yoga, Hatha Yoga, and Raja Yoga. Another yogic text, Shiv Samhita, in the 5th chapter, 9th verse, it says, Mantra Yogo Hataschaiva Laya Yogas Tatiyakaha Chaturtho Raja Yoga Syat Sadvidha Bhavavarjitaha. It also mentioned the same 4 types of yoga, and Shiva Samhita are the teachings of Lord Shiva to Mother Parvati. So this verse says the yoga is of 4 kinds. First is mantra yoga, second is hatha yoga, third is laya yoga, fourth is raja yoga, which discards duality. So these 4 are mentioned: mantra yoga, hatha yoga, laya yoga, and raja yoga in most of the ancient scriptures. Now, what are these yogas? I'll give you a little bit more idea about, and then we'll go further. Again, Shiv Samhita in the 5th chapter, verse number 10 to 14, there is complete description about these 4 types of yoga. It says that why these 4 types of yoga are mentioned by Lord Shiva, because it depends on the level of students. It says, Chaturdha sadhako gyeyo mradhu madhya adhimatra kaha adhimatra tamah shrestho bhavabdho langhana kshamaha. There are 4 types of seekers, or you can say students. Remember, all students are not equal. Somebody is very intelligent, somebody is mediocre, somebody is very dull, slow. So, depending on the quality of student, the 4 types of yoga are mentioned by Lord Shiva. So, there are 4 types of seekers or aspirants. Who are they? They are known as Mradu. Mradu means gentle or mild. Madhya. Madhya means moderate. Adhimatraka means ardent, and then Adhimatra superlative degree, who is very, very sincere. The best, who can cross the ocean of the world. You'll say that what is the difference? Mradu means there are students who say, oh, once in a while, maybe someday I will practice yoga. So once a year, when the International Yoga Day comes, they appear and they practice yoga with people. So they are mradu, gentle. They have desire. They practice once in a while. Madhya means very often they practice, like every month, couple of classes or few times they practice. Adhimatra means they practice sincerely, like coming to group meditation every Sunday. So they still practice. And then Adhimatratama means those students who never leave their practice. Every single day they continue their practice. So they are the best student who desire to cross the ocean of the world. So mild seekers are, now depending on this mild, moderate, ardent, and most sincere seekers or student, Lord Shiva has recommended 4 types of yoga as mentioned in the previous sutra. So what Lord Shiva is telling here, mild seekers are eligible for mantra yoga. That means when a student begins with a desire to learn something, the teacher or the guru will recommend some mantra, that I'll give you this mantra, you just chant it, and over the period of time you will have some development or some spiritual progress. Moderate students are entitled to Laya Yoga. So once a student has practiced some mantra, he gets more desire and sincerity. So he is now eligible to practice something higher. So Laya Yoga is taught. What is Laya Yoga? Laya Yoga is dependent on some techniques related to concentration, like Trataka, Shambhavi Mudra, where you have little better control over the mind. Through mantra yoga, you are trying to keep the mind focused. And then Laya Yoga helps you further. Then there are sincere seeker who are ardent. They are entitled to Hatha Yoga. When the student has prepared himself with some concentration techniques, now he can practice some bandha, mudra, or some asana. So one step further, Hatha Yoga. And then most sincere seekers are entitled to all. All means it is Raja Yoga, but in the next verses, Lord Shiva has explained all the techniques of Kriya Yoga. And Raja Yoga was known as Kriya Yoga was known as Raja Yoga in the ancient time, because if you read the Bhagavad Gita, fourth chapter, first and second verse, where Lord has declared that in the beginning of creation, God Himself gave the knowledge of scientific knowledge of Kriya Yoga to Vivaswan, the first king of solar dynasty. From Vivaswan, it was taught to the next king, Manu, then to Ikshvaku, and so on. Because this yoga was being practiced by the kings who were known as Raja, kings. That's why it became Royal Yoga or Raja Yoga. And later on, its name became Kriya Yoga. So the four types of yoga mentioned, they are recommended to four types of student depending on their quality and their level of consciousness. So these are the only four which are mentioned in most of the ancient text. And later, many different branches were developed from Kriya Yoga, which is the most ancient. I'll give a little bit more detail about these four types of yoga. What is the Hatha Yoga, Mantra Yoga? Because the mild student are recommended Mantra Yoga. So what happens? Mantra Yoga, although there are many different mantras, short mantra, long mantra, bija mantra. Once I had given a full retreat of 4 days on the science of mantra. However, mantra, they are very specific sound syllable. They work on sound energy to elevate our consciousness and to protect us from all the distractions, diseases, etc. But the best mantra, which everybody can chant or chanting without awareness, is known as Hamsa or Soham. And this is mentioned in the Gheranda Samhita. It says, Hankarena Bahiryati, Sahkarena Vishet Punaha, Shat Shatani Divaratro, Sahasrani Ekavinshati, Ajapa Nama Gayatrim, Jivo Japati Sarvada. The breath of every person in entering means when you are inhaling, your breath makes the sound of sah. And when you are exhaling, it makes the sound of hum, and you can observe. So these two sounds make soham, because when in Sanskrit, saha and hum, when you are combining or joining them as per the grammar rule, H becomes O. So it becomes soham. Or when you reverse, the meaning remains same, it becomes hamsa. This is a technique. Hamsa means great swan. So throughout a day and night, Shat Shatani Divaratrau, throughout a day and night, there are 21,600 such respirations, because average human being is breathing 15 times in 1 minute. So it comes in 24 hours, 21,600 breath. Average human being is taking. Every living being performs this japa unconsciously but constantly. And this is known as Ajapa Gayatri. So what is this mantra? Hamsa or Soham. Without awareness, we are chanting this with the breath. When we inhale, hum. When we inhale, sa. When we exhale, hum. Hamsa or Soham, and we are constantly chanting this mantra, but we are not aware of this. And this is known as Ajapa Gayatri. This is the mantra. So sometimes people ask that, oh, I need a mantra, but you already have this mantra with the breath continuously going on. Hamsa or Soham. So just mantra yoga, either you get a mantra from the teacher, from your guru or master, but I don't recommend to take a mantra from CD or from internet, because when mantra is given by the teacher, it comes with the Shakti or power or energy of the teacher also. And who can recommend a mantra? There is also rules. There are rules that one who has perfected a mantra, after chanting it for trillions of time, it is perfected. And then only means perfected means it becomes ajapa. Then only it is recommended by the teacher and it will be effective. However, so mantra yoga, to take a mantra, you can chant. There are three modes of chanting. We call it Vachika, Upanshu, and Manasik. Vachika means loudly chanting, so everybody can listen. And for example, I chant the mantra Om Ganganapataye Namaha. Everybody can listen to that. Upanshu is the mode of chanting when our lips and tongue are moving, but the person sitting next to us cannot listen to that. This is Upanshu. And most of the time when people take a rosary and chant, we use this mode, Upanshu. Third is Manasik, means our tongue, our sense organs, they are not engaged, but only mentally we are chanting while doing any other activity. Mentally repeating the mantra. This is Manasik. And fourth mode is called Ajapa. After chanting trillions of times, the mantra becomes one with your breath. Whether you are aware, whether you are awake, or whether you are sleeping, it goes on continuously with the breath. That is perfection or Ajapa. However, the best mode of chanting, it is said in the Kularnava Tantra, when we chant the mantra loudly, it generates, let's say, 10 units of energy. When we chant it Upanshu, it brings 100 times more energy. And when we chant a mantra mentally, Manasik, it generates 1,000 times more energy. So mental chanting is more recommended. And in Kriya practice also we do mental chanting of the mantras. So this is mantra yoga. Then what is the next one, which is called Hatha Yoga? So when a person has prepared himself, then one who practices Hatha Yoga. Of course, Hatha Yoga, people say that there are different types of asana, 84 classical postures. There are bandha, means locks. There are mudras to practice. They're all part of Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga is more based on physical activity or keeping the body more fit or healthy. But the real meaning of Hatha Yoga, I'll tell you today. It says in the Yoga Shikha Upanishad, again 133 verse, Hakarena tu Surya Syat, Sakarena Induruchyate, Surya Chandramaso Ekyam, Hatha iti Avidhiyate. It is said that the sound of hum or ha sound is the sun, which is Pingala Nadi, the right nostril, or the right channel which is connected to the right nostril, which is called Pingala Nadi. It is contained. This is called Ha. So Ha is the Surya Nadi, solar channel, Pingala. And in the sound Sa, it is called Moon or Ida Nadi, the left or lunar channel, left nostril. So Hatha Yoga means uniting of sun and moon, means balancing the breath in both the nostril. That is the real meaning of Hatha. Ha and Tha. And Hatha Yoga removes all the diseases of the body. We are not going into more detail of this, but just giving some idea about Hatha Yoga. Then third is Laya Yoga. So Laya Yoga, it is said in the Yoga Tattva Upanishad, verse mantra number 23. Laya Yoga Chittalaya Kotishah Parikirtitah Gachan Swapan Bhunjan Dhyayat Nishkalam Ishwaram. Laya Yoga is praised 10 million times. It is the dissolution of consciousness, whether you walk, stand, sleep, or eat. Always meditate on the self, the one who is perceiving everything. This is the meaning of Laya Yoga. So, Laya Yoga is not just concentration on some external object, but to dissolve your consciousness in the self, Atman. Again, it is said with the merger of Atman and Paramatman, self and supreme self, Laya Yoga happens. When it happens, the mind dissolves and the prana attains steadiness. From Laya Yoga, wellness, the bliss of soul, and the proximity to Brahman, God, are achieved. So, definitely, Laya Yoga is one step further after perfecting the body and mind. So, when you perfect body and mind, control them, and then you have to dissolve them through practice of Laya Yoga. Then comes Raja Yoga. So Raja Yoga you can find in Hatha Yoga Pradipika, another classical text on yoga in the 4th chapter, verse number 3 to 7. Raja Yoga, Samadhi, Unmani, Manonmani, these are all mudras. Am, Amaratva, Laya, Tattva, Shunya, Ashunya, Paramapada, Amanaska, Advaita, Niralamba, Niranjana, Jivan Mukti, Sahaja, and Turiya denote the same state of being. So it speaks about different types of state of mind as well as the mudras, Unmani, Manonmani, and so on. So they are all the part of Samadhi, or they are the part of Raja Yoga. Just, and then example is given, just as with salt dissolves in water, becomes one with it. When you have some water and you put some salt into that and it becomes one with water, so also the union of mind and soul is dominated samadhi. So in the state of samadhi, your mind is totally dissolved into the self. When the breath becomes exhausted, the mind becomes still or reabsorbed. They fuse into union, that is called samadhi. So this is the definition by Raja Yoga. This equality, this openness of the two, the living self and the absolute self, Atma and Paramatma. When all sankalpa means all the desires or cravings end, it is known as samadhi. So in Raja Yoga, they say when we become free from all the desires, all the cravings, and the mind is dissolved, and the individual self is becoming one with the super consciousness or absolute self, then this is called Raja Yoga. So we in Raja Yoga we use breath more often to go beyond breath, beyond mind. So this is just the idea about 4 different types of yoga. Again about Raja Yoga, why it is called Raja Yoga, as I mentioned, that it is the royal path of meditation. That's why it is known as Raja Yoga. As a king maintains control over his kingdom, so we can maintain control over our own kingdom. What is our kingdom? Our body, our mind, our thought, they're all part of our own kingdom. And this word you can find in Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter, first verse. Idam shariram kaunteya kshetram iti avidhiyate. This body is known as the kshetra or kingdom. So when we have control over the body and mind, the vast territory of mind, because mind is playing in this kingdom of body. So this is called Raja Yoga. In Raja Yoga, we use our mental powers to realize the soul or self through the process of psychological control. Because we use the breath and mentally we regulate the breath and we transcend the play of mind. So Rajas, there are 3 gunas like Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. in which the mind is constantly tossing from one to other state. So Rajas, also there is an example here. Rajas, which look like the flower of japa and bandhuka, means flower of blood red color, you can say hibiscus flower. So that is known as Rajas, is located in the middle of the genital of all creatures. Now it speaks about the union or the creation. So every individual living being has this Rajas, the male part, you can say. It is of the, so Rajas is the feminine. It is of the feminine principle, and its union, its retas of male principle is Raja Yoga, which is more into the tantric practices. However, the psychic powers, attunation, and like are attained by the yogi who has mastery over Raja Yoga. However, again to mention that Raja Yoga, because it was being practiced by the kings in the beginning, it is known as Kriya Yoga later. And Babaji Maharaj, when he reintroduced Kriya Yoga, so he gave this name Kriya Yoga. Although in many scriptures like Yoga Vasistha or Adhyatma Ramayana, Holy Bhagavatam, Yoga Sutra Patanjali, you can find instead of Raja Yoga, you can find this word Kriya Yoga. And the techniques are same as mentioned here. It is based on breath regulation and concentration. However, so these are the various types of yoga. Now, question comes that what should we think about? And union is achieved between the two. So there has to be two. Externally, we can say it is the union of body and mind, union of body and soul. Now, again, there are two principles. The body has a form and soul is formless. So it is the union of form and formless. What is our real identity? We always think that we are body, we are mind, and so on. What is visible is constantly changing, like the body and the world, and it is not the permanent phenomenon, or it is not the reality. When we say truth, so truth is that which remains constant in all three periods of time. Body is changing, so body is not truth. But soul remains. Soul was, soul is, and soul will remain. Soul is like energy, formless energy. So union of form and formless. And my master Baba Hariharanandji, when he explained Kriya Yoga, he very often quoted this beautiful example in public. He says he was keeping these two hands like this, and he was asking, how many hands do you see? So from the front, only one hand is visible. He said, although it is visible one hand, but there is also another hand behind it, which is not visible. So also the body is visible, which has a form, but soul, which is formless energy, it is hiding behind. So union of the body and soul is also yoga. Union of our individual consciousness with cosmic consciousness is yoga. In this body, our consciousness, our chetana, our prana, which is prana is connecting that soul with the body. So they are in this individual body, but we are part and parcel of the supreme soul. We call it Atman and Paramatman. So the two, when we feel or when we experience unity of these two, when we merge our individual consciousness with cosmic consciousness, that is the state of yoga. And scientifically, we call it a union of microcosm and macrocosm. In our previous classes, we have discussed about this topic, microcosm and macrocosm. The body is the microcosm and the universe is macrocosm. And universe is nothing but the body of God. We call it Virata Purusha in Vedanta. And when we achieve this union, when we experience that we are not individual soul, but we are the same power of divine, which is all pervading through our practice, that is the state of yoga. We discussed in our previous classes about these different philosophies. So two philosophies are mostly practiced nowadays, yoga and Vedanta. Yoga is the practice and Vedanta is the theory. So what we contemplate, what we understand theoretically, we put into the practice, that is yoga. Yoga and Vedanta, in my opinion, are not two different philosophies, but they are the two wings of a bird. They go hand in hand. A bird cannot fly with one wing. So also, when we want to achieve union and we want to experience the ultimate truth, we use both these philosophies. Vedanta as a theory, because in Vedanta we have some idea. We get the idea of divinity, idea of God, idea of this world. We get some idea about the soul, about God. All these ideas we get because first we have to have some theory. We need to have some idea, some concept, and then we apply that into practice, and that becomes yoga. So yoga and Vedanta, they go together. They are complementary to each other. They are not uh, competitors, and they are not contradicting to each other. They are complementary to each other. For example, when we do some experiment in our school or college, so in the laboratory, when we do the experiment, first we need to have some theory and then we put it into practice. So theory and practice go together. So also yoga and Vedanta, we study together. However, we practice Kriya Yoga. And just to tell you that Kriya Yoga is the most ancient and scientific technique of meditation, pure meditation. And later on, as I mentioned that in the Rig Veda, the oldest scriptures available in human society are the Vedas. In Rig Veda, there are mantras which are explaining the techniques of Kriya Yoga. So that's why it is the most ancient. And it is not for the beginners. Kriya Yoga is for the advanced students. As we discussed from Shiva Samhita today, that Lord Shiva has recommended Raja Yoga or this Kriya Yoga only to most sincere students. In Kriya Yoga, we have set of techniques also. So it is a combination, or you can say combination of various techniques, or it is an integral yoga. And our discussion in further classes will be based on the aphorisms on yoga, Yoga Sutra Patanjali in detail. Most important verses we are going to discuss in detail, which will help in our practice of yoga. And just to tell you that Sage Patanjali, when he explained this yoga, he mentioned this word Kriya Yoga only. And of course, it is mentioned in three places, which will go for our discussion in further classes. That Kriya Yoga in three forms he has mentioned. And one word is there, Ashtanga Yoga. So Ashtanga Yoga is not a separate yoga, but there are 8 limbs of yoga and they all are included in Kriya Yoga. Especially the last 4 parts or 4 limbs are the exact Kriya Yoga. Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana and Samadhi, they are part of Kriya Yoga. However, the other 4 are also included, those who know the technique, those who practice it. So Sage Patanjali has mentioned Kriya Yoga. He did not take any name. And that's why it is said that if there was any other yoga in that period of time, Sage Patanjali must have mentioned it. It is said Hatha Yoga is also very old. So just to tell you that Hatha Yoga techniques were there, when the ancient saints and sages, they were observing the nature, they found various birds, animals in different posture. And through that, they discovered that there are certain exercises to keep the body healthy. And much later, like 3,300 years ago, they were all compiled by Yogi Swatmarama in the form of this beautiful text on yoga, Hatha Yoga Pradipika. But Kriya Yoga is much older than that. And further, later on from the Kriya Yoga, various types of yoga were developed. As I mentioned, that Laya Yoga, Hatha Yoga, Raja Yoga, Mantra Yoga. So various yogas were developed from Kriya Yoga. Taking one aspect of Kriya Yoga, a complete yoga was developed. And in modern time, people use different types of yoga because anybody who is teaching yoga started a yoga with his or her own name, like Vikram Yoga, this yoga, hot yoga. However, classical yogas are only four, which are known as Mantra Yoga, Laya Yoga, Hatha Yoga, and Raja Yoga, otherwise known as Kriya Yoga. You'll ask the question that, but there are also three yogas we have heard very often. They are Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. So these three are not different. All three are part of Kriya Yoga. Kriya Yoga is the combination of Jnana, Karma, and Bhakti, path of devotion, path of knowledge, and path of action. They are part of this. So they are the modes, or they are much later developed. And when we will discuss the aphorisms or sutras from Yoga Sutra, and this sutra we will also discuss about the definition of Kriya Yoga in the second book. Then I will elaborate upon this definition and three aspects of Kriya Yoga. So yoga is philosophy. When we talk about yoga, most commonly people refer to four meanings of this word yoga. Yoga means union. Yoga means philosophy, because this is the school of philosophy propounded by Sage Patanjali. Yoga is also the goal, because when we read the Yoga Sutra Patanjali, the first book, it begins with Atha Yoga Anushasanam. And now I'm going to explain the discipline of yoga. So yoga is the goal, because when we start anything, we always fix a goal. To unite with God, or to experience the ultimate truth or our source. We have to go back to our source. That is the goal of our life. So yoga is the goal of life. That's why Sage Patanjali, when he wrote these aphorisms in four sections or four books, the first book he wrote about the Samadhi Pada, means the goal of life, and then the practice, Sadhana Pada, and then Vibhuti Pada, third book, which is after practicing the different types of siddhis or achievements, yogic achievements. And the fourth is the ultimate experience, Kaivalya Pada. But he spoke about the Samadhi first. What is Samadhi Pada? The goal of life. Remember, if the goal is clear, then our journey of life will become very easy. I'll tell you a very funny incident from the life of Einstein. That once Einstein was traveling from Princeton to another city by train, and the ticket conductor came to check the tickets. So when they check in Europe, they take the ticket and punch it. So when he came to Einstein, and Einstein looked for his ticket, so he looked into his vest pocket, but he was not able to find the ticket. Then he looked into his trousers. He did not find it. He opened his briefcase, ticket was not there. So the conductor told him, "Sir, I know who you are. You're a very famous scientist and you don't need to show the ticket. I know that you must have bought a ticket, no problem." And then he left to check other passengers. After 10 minutes, when conductor finished checking all the passengers and he was returning, he found very strange thing that Einstein was kneeling down and he was looking for something under the seat. So the conductor rushed to him and said, "Sir, I know who you are. You don't need to show the ticket. Don't worry about that." Then Einstein stood up, looked into his eyes, and he said, "Gentlemen, I also know who I am. But the only problem, I want to know where I'm going to." He forgot. And it happens, those who are very focused, sometimes they forget the entire world. However, like in this story, Einstein wanted to know where he was going. So also we are on a long journey from life to life. Means many lives we have been constantly traveling towards our goal of life to achieve this reunion with divine. And in this process of this long journey, we have forgotten where we started from. And we need to remind ourselves that the goal should be clear. No matter just yoga practice, but in every aspect of our life, whatever we do, our goal should be clear. Because if our goal is clear, then everything becomes easy. Otherwise, we are stranded on way, we are distracted, and we can never achieve any peace of mind, anything in our life. So that's why Sage Patanjali begins this book with first book, Samadhi Path, the goal of life. However, our goal of life is to achieve this reunion. Apparently, we are separated from divine. We are not really separated, but we feel. And to again to go back to that state, we need to practice yoga. So yoga is the goal. And how to achieve this goal? Then Sage Patanjali recommends the technique. So yoga means also means. Adopting the sadhana or means, you can achieve the goal. So yoga is the union, yoga is the goal of life, yoga is the means to achieve this goal, because that is the practice, and yoga is the philosophy. So these are the four common meanings we use very often. However, from the next class, we will start our discussion on the aphorisms on yoga, the first book, and then we will discuss a little bit more practical aspect which will help us in our present practice, no matter where we are, whether we are practicing hatha yoga, laya yoga, or any type of yoga, but it will help us to remain focused, to remain more established, and to motivate ourselves to continue the practice and achieve the goal of life. So from next class onward, our discussion will begin on the yoga philosophy with this text, Yoga Sutra Patanjali, and in advance we will send you the sutras which I am going to cover in each class. So if you like, you can read those sutras, and if you have any question, you can always put those questions at the end of our discussion. We will take those questions and we'll try to help you. I am praying to God, praying to all the masters to give us inner strength, to give us more love, peace, and harmony. So I'll conclude this class with a prayer, praying for all of you, praying for the entire creation. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्तिः 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 May all become happy and healthy, loving, noble, and compassionate. May there be no suffering, no sorrow, no disease. May there be more love, peace, and harmony among all of us and in this entire creation. May the blessings of divine and the masters be upon us all. Om. Amen. Thank you all. I bow to divinity in all of you.
Swamiji, there is a question by Nalini.
Yes, ma'am. Please. I was just looking for that. What is the question?
Pranam Swamiji.
Mhm.
Swamiji, as part of watching the breath that we do in Kriya Yoga,
Mhm.
oftentimes there is a bit of confusion when we try to focus on the breath as well as think of the Divine Mother, for example, at the same time, and as well as uh, we try to empty the mind also. So, if I have to be I have to empty my mind, and that is how it comes more easily to me during normal day-to-day time. Is it to a nama japa also at the same time, or how I can balance it?
Okay, thank you for your question. Let me clarify one thing because our masters have recommended this beautiful technique of watching the breath. But very often people get confused. Watching the breath does not mean to concentrate on the breath or focus on breath. Watching the breath means to be conscious or to be aware of breath. And for example, I'll give a very simple example. Suppose you are driving the car. So when you are driving, where is your attention? Most of your attention is in front of you. But at the same time, you are also aware in the back of your mind, you are aware if any vehicle is approaching from the right lane, left lane, or from behind. You are not looking back, you're not focusing on that vehicle, but your focus is in front of you and you are aware of that. So the breath is in the background, constantly moving in and out. It is going in, coming out. So this is going on, but we are not aware of that. So when we keep a very little attention on breath, but it is not 100% concentration on breath, otherwise we will not be able to perform any other activity, including the japa or nama. So activity is going on, and in the background or in the backside, we are just keeping a little awareness that breath is moving, and who is breathing? It is none but God or divine. So this is called watching the breath. So again, watching the breath is not concentrating on the breath, but being conscious of breath is watching the breath. So it is possible while watching the breath means being conscious of breath to do other activity, including mantra or in your cooking or driving. It is possible. Because if you totally focus on breath, concentrate on the breath, then you can't do any other activity. So be clear about it. I hope it is clear.
Yes, Swamiji. And the other part was in Paravastha, the state that we go to. Basically, if part of that I can do during, say, my office hour or during my walking, emptying the mind without any thought. So, is that also a right way to go deeper into a meditation, or I should try to just watch and do a nama japa?
Paravastha is the state in which we go beyond the play of mind, beyond body consciousness, beyond time. It is a state which is achieved by practicing some techniques as we do. And here what happens that when we reach that state, there is no more experience. We are beyond all experiences. We transcend all conditionings of body and mind. So there is no question of any nama japa or mantra at that time. We go beyond that also, because in mantra, either our mind is engaged or sense organs are engaged. But we transcend these two also in Paravastha. So in Paravastha, we become just a witness, Sakshi. We just observe whatever is happening. We are not involved in any activity. We don't do anything. We are not karta. We are not bhokta. We are not enjoying anything, but we are just sakshi. We are observer. That is what is paravastha, real meditation. And there is a question up from Emilima. Please, I would request you to send this question to Institute, Kriya Yoga Institute, and or my email, and I will reply it, because what you're asking, I cannot do it here. But please send this to me on Institute. I'll reply Emilima for you. Thank you for your question. Any other? Nalinima had question?
No, I think the name on the Zoom is Nalini. I think the
Oh,
gentleman
I
asked the
see.
question already.
I see.
I don't see any other questions, Swamiji.
Okay, thank you, ma.
Thank you so much. This was a very profound series and excellent topic. Thank you, Swamiji. We will have a recording of this on both Arva Yoga and Kriya Yoga YouTube channels.
Well, thank you all for joining this session today. Hope to see you in April, because February and March, I will be totally engaged in India. Very busy schedule, and I won't be able to connect. So in April, our next class on Yoga Sutra Patanjali, please join us. Thank you. Have a safe environment. Be peaceful, be loving, and have a good day. Jai Guru.